Next, let's discuss the threat. Threat of new entrants, threat of substitute products. Okay? So, threat of new entrants. There's only one question that you should understand here. Is it easy for other people to go into your kind of business? If it's easy for other people to go into your business or to go into the same field or industry as your business, the threat of new entrants is high. In other words, it's going to be very competitive. Balik tayo dun sa fishbowl, di ba? Ang fishbowl industry is very competitive. Eh, maski bukas meron ka lang kalaban. Makita lang na malakas yung fishbowl mo. Eh, malakas yung fishbowl dito sa kanto na to, sa lugar na to. Pwesto rin ako dito, gagayahin ko. O yun, threat of new entrants ang tawag ko. So competition is very high because it's very easy for people to replicate your business. But if it's very difficult, then threat of new entrants is low. Right? Halimbawa, yung telco, ang telco natin, dalawa, Globe Smart. Ngayon lang pumapasok yung pangatlo dito. Diba? Eh, kasi mahirap pumasok. Very technical. It requires infrastructure. It requires a lot of capital. So threat of new entrants is low. Okay, so that's the basics of threat of new entrants. So you consider barriers to entry. So what are barriers to entry? The challenges to enter a specific market. Is there regulations required? No? What are the regulation fees? No? May mga babayaran ba? What are the technologies that are need to be acquired? So these are all challenges to enter a particular business. The more technological, the more complex the business, it's very difficult to enter that kind of field or industry. Yung mga bakery, nakikita nyo, barbershop, car wash, naku po, napakadami. Diba? Eh kasi ang barriers to entry low. Wala masyadong technology involved hindi technical. So you consider that class when going into a particular business. Mga Pilipino, puro sari-sari store. Diba? Sige. Isipin mo yung dream business mo. Pustahan tayo. Ano yan? Flower shop. Ganyan, di ba? Photo supply. Hardware. Di ba? Wala namang halos barrier to enter yan. Capital lang. Kaya pag pumasok ka, very risky because it's very competitive. You see? Ang pasukin nyo yung medyo konti lang. Yung nakakapasok, kasi nga, the barriers of entry is high. Pag nakapasok ka naman, and you succeed, very few competition. Diba? Nakarinig na ba kayo ng IT company sa Pilipinas? Konti lang, diba? Merong isa, napapalabas sa TV. I-research nyo. Parang ano yun? Parang Microsoft ng Pilipinas. Walang kalaban So the industry has very low competition. Okay? So you consider that. Gumagawa kayo halimbawa ng mga programs, antivirus, apps. Konti lang ang nakakaalam. Next, economies of scale. So I will share with you economies of scale, a video na lang related to economies of scale. Okay? Economies of scale kasi, the bigger you are, you acquire what you call cost advantages. Mas napapamura ang per unit of production of a product. In other words, the cost of producing one unit becomes lower as you produce more. Because you are big, you become more efficient. That's economies of scale. So, an example of economies of scale is Pure Gold, SM Supermarket, Toyota. They have reached economies of scale. It's very difficult for new entrants, for new businesses to compete with them. You cannot lower price because your production expenses is very high compared to them. Okay? And for example, you try to put up a convenience store. And if you're trying to compete in terms of prices against 7-Eleven or Alphamart or Ministop, you will have a difficult time. Okay? Because most likely, your prices will be higher. Okay? Yung 7-Eleven, halimbawa, pag bumili yan ng products nila from the manufacturer in bulk, large volumes. Di ba? So, yung cost per unit niya, mas mababa. Eh, ikaw, kahon-kahon lang. Kung bumili ka ng produkto, di ba? Tapos sa Pure Gold ka pa namimili. Mahal yung price mo. Eh, yung 7-Eleven, yung mini stop, pag bumili yan halimbawa sa Nestle, truck. Di ba? Truck yun. Tapos they already established a relationship with their suppliers. Friends na sila. Kaya nabibigyan pa sila ng lowest price. Tapos ang bayaran, utang. Paano mo tatalunin yun? Eh ikaw, di ka naman pinapautang ng Pure Gold. Oh, di ba? So may problem na halimbawa para sa cash flow. See? Yung 7-Eleven, kaya. So that's one, no? Because of course, because of scale, meron silang popular brand. So they almost have a near perfect marketing advantage. Kilala yung brand. Diba? O ikaw, hindi ka naman kilala. So magastos ka sa advertising, sa promotion. You see? So this is just examples of the advantages of economies of scale. Actually, marami pa because they have developed efficiency, what we call this, systems that are very fast, very quick. Okay? Yung mga program lang na ginagamit nila for inventory, very efficient. No? Yung halimbawa, yung 7-Eleven, alam ng Nestle, Procter & Gamble, pag wawala na halimbawa ng paninda yung 7-Eleven kasi namomonitor na nila, they have a special software. 7-Eleven is using a software that is connected with their suppliers. See? Eh, ikaw, wala ka namang gano'n. Pag nag-i-inventory ka, mano-mano, binibilang mo lang isa-isa. Paano ka lalaban? They're very efficient. You see? So it takes a lot of time for you, it takes a lot of money. So most likely, your price will be higher compared to businesses that are big because they have economies of scale. Questions? Brand loyalty. Brand loyalty, related na rin yan dun sa example ko, 7-Eleven. Your consumers already have what you call familiarization with your brand and they always patronize your brand. You have what you call power over your consumers in terms of brand recognition. It's very, very difficult for new entrants to compete with you. Okay? So Jollibee, McDonald's, no? They have what you call loyal customers already. That's why new entrants is it will be very difficult for new entrants to compete with you. Next, capital requirements. So this is also a barrier to entry. You can consider this as part of that. If capital requirement is very high, it's very expensive. Not only money, it takes a lot of manpower, special skill, special people, intelligent people. That's also capital, to be in that kind of business. So you won't have any threats to new entrants. Okay? So, halimbawa, Meralco. If you are Meralco, you do not have any threat of new entrants. There is no threat, in fact. Sino pa ba magko-compete sa Meralco? Okay? Of course, cumulative experience, you're already wise, you are already wiser, you already understand the business. Okay? You're already very smart. Others is government policies, no? And regulation. So this can also be a barrier to entry. So kapag napakadaming regulations para pumasok in a particular market or in industry, businesses might not be encouraged to enter that market. Walang magninegosyo. Okay, so in your case, if you're already into that business, this is a form of a way of being protected from new entrants. Access to distribution channels. If you already have a relationship with suppliers, a relationship with agents, this is very difficult to beat. New entrants do not have it yet. Diba? So as I was saying a while ago, if you're competing in the convenience store market, you do not have access to, or very good access to distribution, to logistics. You still do not know how the supply chain works. It will be very difficult to compete with 7-Eleven in Insta. Okay? And also, switching costs. No? Switching costs, sabi ko. The consumer's ability to switch from one brand to another, from one product to another. Kapag nasanay na sa inyo yung consumer, maski na may pumasok na new entrant, it's very difficult for them to transfer to the new entrant, no? to the new business. No? Pag may nag-o-offer na bagong produkto, mahirap na kasi nasanay na kayo sa particular brand. No? Halimbawa, you are used to doing your groceries in Robinson Supermarket or SM Supermarket, and then here comes a new grocery. No? It's very difficult for you to transfer to that grocery, especially if you're already loyal to a particular supermarket. It might be very inconvenient for you. Okay, so in that case, threat of new entrants is low. Okay, questions? Now, what about the threat of substitute products? Now, when we say substitute products, no, we are not just thinking of, or the threat of substitute products, we're not just thinking of the presence of substitute products, but we are actually trying to evaluate the degree of the competition brought about by the substitute products. How is it a threat to us? Okay. In other words, what is the impact of the substitute products to your product? Okay. So you consider the number of substitute products available. The more substitute products in the market, the more competitive. Diba? Parang makita nyo sa palengke. Diba? Marami nagtitinda ng meat, fish products, vegetables, and fruits. Kaya mayroon substitutes. Competition in the wet market is very high. Okay? Because many stores are selling the same product. Okay? So, very difficult. They cannot just price their product the way they want to. Hindi sila pwede masyado magmahal kasi yung kabilang stall, di ba? Merong particular price na set. So, you have to consider that. Okay? So, if there are more substitute products, very competitive. The buyer propensity also to substitute yan. Parang switching cost yan. Diba? Parang can they easily find a substitute? If they can easily find a substitute, the industry is very competitive. Okay, so in other words, it's very difficult for you to set the right price. Very difficult for you to make a profit. Diba? Parang sa ano, sa market, diba? Kung meron kang pwesto sa market, no? Okay? Magandang business yan actually kasi the demand for products is high and it's also constant. But the problem is nga, merong market pero marami kayong naghahati-hati dun sa market. Diba? Because you're all selling the same kind of products. Okay? Relative price performance of the substitute. This is also similar to the uniqueness of the product. The difference in features of the product, the difference in terms of after sales of the product, the quality of the product. Okay? So, ipino-consider din yan ng consumers kasi. Okay? So, if you cannot show the customer that you provide more value in terms of price and quality, it's very difficult for you to compete. It's very difficult for you to set a particular price. Kasi hahanap siya ng iba. If they are not satisfied with the price of your product and also the performance of your product, nilipat yan. Okay, so very, very competitive. So unless you establish unless you produce a product that is of high quality and it is well known for very, very good performance, you cannot really compete in that market or in that industry. Kasama na rin dyan yung perceived level of product differentiation. Perceived level, impression. What is the impression of your customer about your product or your brand? See? If they perceive your product as high quality, probably you can set the right price. You can set an expensive price, for example. Hindi ba ganyan yung Apple? Ganyan yung Honda? Diba? Ganyan yung Mercedes-Benz. Ang mamahal. Diba? Kasi nakakaroon sila ng ability to price at a premium because the perception of the consumers about their product is very high. Expectation is high. Maganda yung Mercedes-Benz. Maganda ng quality. Okay? Maganda yung Apple. Hindi na nagkaka-virus. Ang ganda ng interface. You see? Meron ding status involved when buying that product. So the perception on the product is very high. Okay, pero kapag ka-perception sa produkto nyo, ano lang, average product lang, o hindi masyado maganda, okay lang, wala, you cannot set a high price. See? So, in other words, very challenging for you, the competitive, the industry is very competitive because your product is not perceived as outstanding or excellent. And again, switching costs, the ability of the consumer to switch or to transfer to another product. Okay, so questions? May tanong ba?
Wala naman po.
Okay. So last, ito, rivalry among existing competitors. Palagi namang merong existing competitors, Very rare na may industry na wala masyadong competition o kayo lang ang sole producer or manufacturer. But what we are trying to consider here is the impact of that competition. How is it that they are a threat to you? Okay? The degree of the threat, the degree of the competition against your business. Kasi meron namang competition pero very weak because the business is small. It's not a threat. It's not a threat. No. Example, you are McDonald's. You're a very big fast food chain. And then somebody puts up a burger restaurant in front of you. New brand. No, first timer in this industry. That won't be a threat. Okay? Generally, it won't be a threat against McDonald's. Right? Yeah, against McDonald's, which is a global brand, which has a following. Diba? So that won't be a threat. Eh, parang ganun yan eh. Diba? So maraming mga competition. Maraming talagang gagayahin ka. Diba? Parang yung milk tea. Yan ang Pinoy. Uso milk tea. Lahat may milk tea. Naging threat ba sila? Naging threat ba sila sa Coco Milk Tea at saka sa Happy Lemon? Hindi naman, di ba? Marami yan, yung mga mom and pop milk tea stores, sarado na. Ngayon pandemic, sarado na. Natitira na lang yung tunay na matibay, yung genuine. It's not a threat. Di ba? Yung ngayon, Pilipino, kung yung uso, ginagaya. Uso yung coffee shop dati, yung Starbucks, no? Ang ginagaya, lahat pasko rito sa subdivision namin, titinda ng ala Starbucks, Starbucks yata, whatever, no? Hindi naman threat, di ba? Kasi they're just more. So there is competition, there is rivalry, but the threat is almost non-existent. If you are Starbucks, for example, no, if you're coffee bean and tea leaf, yung mga ganun, mahirap. Okay? So what should be considered? The number of competitors, of course. Generally, the more competitors, the more intense is the rivalry. Okay? The more intense. Parang yung sinasabi ko yung fast food, burger, chicken industry. Diba? Jollibee, McDo. O meron pang mga small players, no? Wendy's, Tropical, KFC. No? Meron pang smaller players. Angel's Burger. Yaman na nun. Burger King, meron pa ba? I mean, Burger Machine. Burger King, sa big players yun, ano? Burger Machine, meron pa ba? Meron pa siguro. Minute Burger. Meron din Minute Burger, di ba? Mga small players, Minute Burger. Tawag ko nga dyan sa Minute Burger, Minute Burger. Ano ibig sabihin ng minute? Minute Burger. Ano yung ibig sabihin ng minute? Diba? Ang spelling parehas din eh. Minute. Parang minute din, pero ang pronunciation minute. Diba? Meron yun. Diba? ang ibig sabihin kasi niyan, maliit. Maliit. Minute. Another word for, another meaning for that, same spelling. Minute. Ibig sabihin small. Yung minute burger kasi maliit eh. Pagkagat mo, malalampasan mo yung burger. Hindi mo namamalayan na nakagat mo na pala yung burger. Ganun siya kaliit. Okay? Nawala ba yung slide, Crash?
Hindi po.
Hindi naman. Okay, good. Kasi nag-switch ako ng tab. Gusto ko sanang ipakita yung minute burger. Pero, never mind. Diversity of competitors. If there are many competition showing different kinds, different variety, different sizes, colors, flavors of the product, it can be very competitive. The intensity of the rivalry might be high. Okay?